right, off we go.
Thank you. Oh, good evening. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:00 p.m. On November 10th, 2021. And this is a meeting of the Trail, Sidewalks, and Bikeways Committee. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, this committee needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of this committee is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all of the other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each committee member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can, in fact, hear every other member. I am the representative at large and chairman. I'm Ken Comer, calling from Springfield, Virginia. Braddock District, Mr. Cosgriff.
This is Bob Cosgriff, Braddock District Rep, calling from my home in Fairfax and Hickory Farms.
Hunter Mill District, Mr. Rowe. No response. Mount Vernon District, Mr. Klein.
Yeah, hi, this is Jim Klein calling from my home in Holland Hills.
Thank you. Drainsville District, Mr. Smith. No response. Do we have a Providence District representative? I carry it as vacant. No response. Mason District, Mr. Albright.
James Albright, Mason District.
Thank you, James. Springfield District, Mr. Liebert.
All right, the magic space bar unmute did not work. This is Carl representing the Springfield District from Burke, Virginia.
Thank you, Carl. That's why I always pause a little bit longer. Lee District, Mr. Pipkin. No response. Sully District, Ms. Ambeck.
This is Karen from my home in Oakton, representing Sully.
You, Karen. Clifton Horse Society, Ms. McDaniel.
This is Katie McDaniel for CHS, calling from my home in Oak Hill.
Thank you, Katie. Fairfax Alliance for Better Bicycling, Mr. Newman. No response. Fairfax Area Disability Services Board, Ms. Cohen.
Again, Debbie actually informed me a few weeks ago that she'd be stepping down from the committee, so I will need a new representative from them.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I will correct that now. Fairfax County Federation of Citizens Association, Mr. Tipton. No response. Fairfax County Park Authority, Ms. Ionetta.
Calling from my house in the city of Fairfax.
Beth, you're very faint. I don't know if you're far from your microphone.
Better?
Not much. But we'll have to try to keep an eye on you to see if you're waving on your phone trying to talk to us. Northern Virginia Builders Industry Association, Ms. Portia. No response. And do we have a representative from the Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority? No response. WABA, Mr. Albers.
Howard Albers from my home in Fairfax, Virginia.
Okay, I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of the committee. It is our practice to approve this and all subsequent motions by acclamation. So I will ask now if there are any objections or nay votes. Hearing none, the motion that we can hear each other carries. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures, the fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that a state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this committee to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. And that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of this committee and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this committee may conduct this meeting electronically through the Cisco WebEx video conferencing platform. This format will also provide a dedicated phone line. The public may access this meeting by going to fairfax.webex.com and entering event number 2333-887-0684 and password capital T Trails, small letters for the rest, 2021, no space. And by calling 1-844-621-3956 and using access code 2333-887-0684. It is so moved. I will ask again if there are any objections or nay votes. Hearing none, the motion carries. Finally, it is next required to establish that all of the matters addressed in today's agenda and the emergency address the emergency itself are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this committee's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved. I will ask again if there are any objections or nay votes. Hearing none, that motion carries. All right. Before we begin the agenda, let me first ask about our other attendees. First of all, let's ask what members of staff are here.
Hey, it's just me tonight. Dave Loss from Fairfax County DOT.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And next, what members of the public have come to join us?
I have a few people on the attendee list, so I'll just go down and try and unmute you. So
why don't you prompt them, David, because otherwise everybody talks at once. So
yeah.
So
first, there's a call-in user from a 703 number. Be able to chime in.
You have the last 4 digits of the number?
No, they start out at 703, then it begins with a 4. There's only one call-in user, so if you call in, that's you. Answer, I guess. We also have Charlie Grimes.
I'm Charlie Grimes with the Greater Prince William Trails Coalition.
Great. Thanks for joining. We have Ernest Rodriguez.
Yes, Ernest Rodriguez. I'm with both Potomac Heritage and also with more Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiast.
Gotcha. And we also have Sheila Dunheimer, although for some reason there's no unmute button for her, and there's no little symbol next to the volume. So I don't know if you're gonna mute yourself or type something in the chat or something like that if you can. And that's everyone for the attendees.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sheila?
Okay. Yeah, this is Sheila. So I'm connected on the computer to be able to watch, but you know,
Alright,
for
the call-in
communication on
music.
the phone. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Great, all right, thank you.
Okay, so that's the three. Okay, for the three members of the public, we set aside some time for public comment at 8:30. So whatever we're doing at 8:30, we will open the floor to you, and I will moderate a discussion from those members of the public. Okay, with that in mind, let's move to our agenda. To talk about first item is to review and approve the October 2021 virtual meetings. Head copies have been sent by Beth and for the committee. So any discussion of the minutes for October?
Hear me better now?
Not really, but a little
Not
bit.
really.
Nope.
Better now?
Oh, what was that?
Now? No? Can't hear me.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Do you have a megaphone?
Just do interpretive dance at this point.
Oh wait, that was good.
That better?
Yeah.
Just hold my laptop up for the whole meeting and maybe it'll work. Love technology. Yes, I sent out the minutes. Hopefully everyone received them. I did not hear back from anybody for changes. Does anybody have any changes that they wish to make? Please speak now. Seeing and hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the October minutes as submitted.
I read them and they looked great to me.
Second.
I take that as a second. All right. So is anybody opposed to approving the October minutes? Motion carries.
Sorry, this is Jim Klein. I just had one typo. It should be safer under the board matter. I couldn't unmute myself, sorry.
I'll make that change.
Anybody else struggling with the mute button?
Just struggling in general.
I can't help with that.
Can't sympathize.
Okay. Okay. So if anybody does have any other issues, I'm sure Beth can correct typos and that type of thing after the fact. All right. So next on the agenda, I'm very nervous about this. Trail opportunities in Fairfax County by Bill House and Karen Jones, but I haven't heard them chime in. Are they here?
Yes, I'm here. This is Bill House.
Give me a
Okay,
second,
no,
and
sorry.
yeah, so I will make you the participants list go. So I just need to make you the presenter. There we go. Okay. So you should be able to share your screen now, and we'll be able to see your presentation.
Okay. Okay, I have to hit share. Here we go. Oh, I see. So I can
select the specific application.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it, Bill. Good. Looks good. We're looking at PHTA slide. Now you've switched to Fairfax Trails and Streams.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm Bill House. My wife, Karen Jones, is here too. We have had the pleasure of giving several briefings to the Trails and Sidewalks Committee over the years. and we're very happy to present some ideas to you guys again. So thanks for the opportunity. This first slide, I think, won't be news to anyone in this group. The widespread understanding of how valuable trails are. The Northern Virginia Regional Commission is just completing a study to quantify that, and that should be out at the end of this month. But the benefits are pretty huge, particularly with the pandemic. So this is a very opportune time. Our group, Potomac Heritage Trail Association, we also work very closely with other jurisdictions in Northern Virginia, particularly Loudoun and Prince William. And they too are undergoing a process somewhat similar to Active Fairfax. Loudoun, for instance, the board passed unanimously a very ambitious trail plan to put trails along the major stream valleys, complete the Potomac Heritage Trail. And so we are working very closely with them. In Prince William County, they've completed some major projects. If you have never seen the Neabsco Boardwalk and Woodbridge, go there. It'll blow your mind. They've completed a number of segments. They're doing some very ambitious things, including the Powells Creek Boardwalk, and they've got a real effort underway. Charlie Grimes is here, so he can answer any more detailed questions about it. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to ask during the presentation. We're going to be going through kind of geographically, and probably the best time to ask a question is when we get to it.
Bill?
So both counties are very interested in connections with Fairfax, so it's good that we have that. Yes.
You're kind of fading in and out a little bit. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
Sometimes you're super clear, and other times you kind of fade out.
All right, let me turn the volume up a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, that was fine.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Most of our recommendations will have to do with the trails in this diagram. The Cross County Trail in green, Potomac Heritage Trail along the river, more or less, and then the West County Trail, Sully Loop Trail, and Bull Run Loop Trail. The Board of Supervisors has put the West County Trail, Sully Loop Trail, and Bull Run Loop Trail, basically at our request, but with a lot of help from others, onto a priority status equal to the Cross County Trail. And so we have identified some ideas on how to make them complete, how to improve the trail, fill gaps, and make on-road segments off-road. So we'll be talking about them. Basically, for all these trails, I mean, it's pretty obvious. First, complete the trail so you can actually do a hike. You can show people. I mean, our motto is show them, don't tell them. That is, you can say how great a trail idea might be, and they'll just say, yeah, and forget it the next day. But if you go out there and show it to them, you know, they'll remember it. And that's what we try to do with these trails. For instance, we did, when we were advocating for the West County Trail, we did our colleagues led a series of hikes along the trail to get people to understand the value of it. So, you know, first complete it, then make it as scenic as you can, get it off roads as much as you can. And if it is on a road, make it a more pleasant, less traffic, more scenic road. Our group, we favor multi-use. We've worked, we like the Cross County Trail. We believe that we think it's an ideal to have horses and bikes and hikers all share the trail. We kind of like them light on the land. We don't oppose, asphalt 14-foot trails and all, but we kind of have a love for the trails that are just passed through the woods. Now our detailed proposals, a lot of them have been put on the Active Fairfax website, and I guess can I share my screen rather than go to an application, because we'll be flipping back and forth from the website to the PowerPoint. Can I just share my screen?
Yeah, you can do that. That's an option.
Yeah, let me
You
do
might have to
that.
stop sharing and then restart.
Let's see, how do I do that?
There should
You
be
have to, you have to stop sharing and then share your screen.
Oh, here it is. Share my screen. So this
Yeah, there we
is
go.
this is the Active Fairfax website. And notice that the ideas are listed in order of number of likes. So for instance, the public has suggested over 600 ideas on the site. Most of them only have one like or 2 likes or something. There's a few that have quite a lot, and we've encouraged people to express their likes for some of the ones that we think are most important. But the number of likes serves a second purpose, which is to use as an index to the list. So if you find a proposal that has let's say you trying to find one that has 59 likes, you can go back to the list and click on the 59, and bang, there's the trail there. And this one happens to be along the Occoquan River from Occoquan Regional Park under the 95 and under the Route 1. And we'll be talking about that particular one in a minute. But that gives you a way, otherwise it's hard to find a proposal on that website. So what we'd like you to do, now we won't have time to do more than a few of these, but in our maps, you'll see that wherever we have a proposal, there'll be an oval there with the number in it. And if you're interested in more details on that one, go to the go to the Active Fairfax website, like I did with that one number 59, and you'll be able to find more details on it. Let's go back to our main map, which has the various trails, and we'll be making recommendations, particularly in 4 areas: Lorton, Centerville, Oakton, and Mclean. In Lorton, there are a lot of opportunities in Lorton. Let's look at some of them. I think you had this on your agenda last month. The proposal that would link the Lorton VRE station going under the railroad and the 95 to the cross county trail. That's one we've advocated for a long time, and we have actually hiked under there with Supervisor Stork, with Congressman Connolly, with a lot of different people, and it's a really important to get the whole Mount Vernon complex of trails together with linked up with the cross county trail. Another ordinary proposal, and we've hiked this with Supervisor Stork last spring, is to have a trail continuously along the Occoquan River. And there's no reason this couldn't go all the way up to Sandy Run and Fountainhead and Bull Run. And so these 3 particular proposals, and they're numbered 67 likes, 62 likes, and 59 likes. That's the one I showed earlier. And it basically has a trail along the Occoquan River, Fairfax side. And we like that. I have a wonderful picture of Dan scrambling over the riprap under I-95 and envisioning how a trail would go under there. Jim Klein came with us, and several people from the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, and Ann O'Neill came from the National Park Service. It was a pretty good event. And Dan is really excited about that. And so these 3 proposals that are on the Active Fairfax website that you can look up for more detail, or you can ask questions if you want, would show how that could become a reality. Also, we have an idea that you could have a route along the old Colchester Road corridor through Mason Neck from the area up here near Fort Belvoir down to the Occoquan River, where it would meet that trail along the Occoquan. And that one we envision as an alternate route to the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail. But we would like to see one that isn't right along Old Colchester Road, and we have an idea on how to keep it mostly in the parks off of the road. And that's what those proposals 48, 49, 45, 50 are all about. They would provide a route that would stay mostly off of the roads and would allow you to come all the way from the river up to the Fort Belvoir area and then over into where the Lorton BRE station. So huge connectivity there. The other one I have on here is this is sort of an age-old chestnut trying to get something good at Fort Belvoir, and we have always been advocating for that. We haven't been very successful so far. The Army has put it pretty much on Route 1 for 3 miles, but we keep fighting. You know, we keep advocating for the more scenic route, and Dan is with us, and a lot of and Eric Conley, the congressman, and Beyer, and all the rest of them are with us. So that's something that we will advocate for. Any questions about the Lorton area?
Are these, which of these, what's going to be the surface for these trails? Are these going to be just hiking trails, or will they be multi-purpose?
Well, I would envision them to start out as hiking trails, and, they could evolve into something more. Perhaps they would get to a stage where they had enough use that they could be, widened to 8 feet or widened more than that. What I'd like to see is to get a trail in there to start with, and to kind of ratchet up. Ernie Rodriguez talks a little bit about the evolution of trails. I could see this starting relatively low cost as a volunteer built trail, and then as people get more and more, use it a lot, maybe it could become more than that.
Yeah, this is Jim Klein. Thanks, Bill, for the great map and the number 59 on your map underneath it. The ones that are part of the Capital Trails Network, which would end up being paved, or the goal in the long term would be paved. So the one that's 59 under I-95 would probably want to be paved.
Yeah.
But again, I think the great point that Bill makes is that you might end up starting out small and then building up as more use demands it.
Yeah. When you're going over the big riprap, you probably that may be beyond the reach of volunteers. But on a lot of these, they're just going through parkland and woods, and it would be something you could bootstrap with volunteers. I do have a slightly more sort of a photo essay of what this number 49 and 50 might look like. And I don't know I did not give this in advance to the committee. However, I have presented it to Supervisor Stork, the National Park Service, and the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, who went on the hike. So would I be allowed to show that according to the ground rules?
Yes.
All right. This is this 48, 49, 45, 50, kind of a little bit more detail, and give you an idea of what it would look like. There's 2 maps. One goes from the Occoquan up to Meadowood, and the other goes from Gunston Road up to the Nomancol area. So first idea would be, here's the trail that would go under 95. Do you see where my cursor is? I'm moving in the lower left corner. It would go under 95 from Occoquan Regional Park. And this land was just acquired by the Nova Parks, so it's now a parkland. And Dan Stork, Supervisor Stork, and Jim and I actually parked up here and walked under there. We walked under the railroad, we walked under Route 1, and we saw how that's a feasible thing. And then you could come up between the Route 1 and the railroad. Now, as some of you know, there's a narrow crossing under the railroad at number 4, and that would hopefully, when they put in a third rail, something could be done to make that a better pedestrian crossing, because right now it's a very narrow underpass at the railroad. But 5, that's a park. 6 is a park. Along here, you would need to be on the road because of private property, but you can stay off-road on the dark blue and on-road on the light blue. This is Meadowwood here, which is already a trail that's considered the Potomac Heritage Trail. This is one that's kind of a little bit of a long shot that maybe you could go over through the this side of Meadowwood through the marina, but you need a couple of rights-of-way through there. There's a little bit of private property through there, but it would be kind of a cool route if you could get it. Then let's go on. Now once you get up to Meadowwood, you're at the corner of Gunston and Old Chesterbrook. Let's go to the next map. Old Colchester, I'm sorry, which starts at that intersection and goes up. Here you'd be along Gunston Road, but it's a pretty nice route. There's actually a trail in there, and this part we need there. That's owned by the Board of Supervisors. It's owned by the same people that own this open space, part of the Noman Coal water treatment process. Now, back about 15 years ago, we met with the managers of the Noman Coal plant, and we asked if we could put a trail through there, and they said yes, you could, and they have been very proactive in helping us do that. We did that at the time because we had a commandant at Fort Belvoir that was favorable to continuing it through the base, and that eventually never happened because that commandant retired, and we haven't had as good a one since. But we've tried to keep that trail usable, but it kind of is a trail to nowhere. But this idea would revive it because we would come back down and we could reach the Ockhorn River, and it could actually be a route for the Potomac Heritage Trail. So I'm going to be meeting with Mike McGrath, who is the manager of the Noman Coal treatment, and he's the one that's been helping us with this route at 15. And we're going to see if he's amenable to some sort of a route at 13 to get us off the road down to Gunston Road, and that would do quite a bit towards making this route a reality. So when we meet with him, we'll let you know how that goes. The next, Jim hopefully can come. That's going to be at the end of the month. Now, the next slides are just pictures of what it would look like. Here, for instance, is what it looks like. This is the field trip we took back in April with Supervisor Stork from Occoquan Regional Park approaching the interstate. This is under the interstate. There's this big riprap. And then this is when you go under Route 1 along the river, which is kind of hard to get to, but it's kind of cool. It'd be really nice to have a trail under there. Let's keep moving up. Here's that railroad underpass that you'd have to somehow get through. Hopefully when they put another rail line in, something can be done with there. And these are just some of the parks along the way. This is the middle part where you'd be in these parks parallel to Old Colchester Road. And then these are images from Meadowwood. This is what Gunston Road looks like as you approach the intersection with Old Colchester. And then this is what it looks like once you get up to the Noman Coal area. It's can't really go in there now. It's pretty thick, but we would like to try to open that up. So I'll end on that one, the Lorton area, and let's move on to Centerville. Now here, this just to refresh your memory, this is where the Sully Loop Trail is. the Bull Run Loop Trail and the West County Trail, the southern end of the West County Trail, and also the Bull Run Loop. And if we could complete this trail along the river, then we'd have this giant loop, 80 miles around the county, which would be very cool. Centerville area. I mentioned that we are interested in Prince William County, connections with Prince William County, and they are too. They're starting to put some of these crossings on their maps, which is pretty new with the effort that I mentioned earlier. And the places to cross, there's several possible places to cross. The ones that were most compatible with the Bull Run Loop Trail would be at Poplar Ford, number 63, where you have this complex of trails in Fairfax County, and you have over on the other side, you have the battlefield trails, and they would basically make them kind of an adjunct to the Fairfax trail system. So we kind of get that for just the price of a crossing of Bull Run there. People could walk right into the Manassas battlefield. The obvious place to return would be down here at Bull Run Regional Park, and that is the Bull Run Loop, basically this loop here. The Sully Loop is any of several loops that go up through Eleanor Lawrence Park, up through near Pleasant Valley Road and down the Cub Run system. So one of the high priorities there is a trail connection here because you have a lot of trails on this side that don't really connect with the trails on this side. But if you had a bridge over Cub Run, there's two ways you could do it, 78 and 45. You can look the details up, but both of those would allow link of those big networks that would allow this loop to really happen. Right now, you need to wade across the creek to get there. So that's an important. Now this one, I labeled it 62. That's one where the Fairfax County Park Authority purchased a very large parkland a couple of years ago. It was part of the gas line property, I think, and it was purchased, I think, to fill the gap in the parkland there. The problem is that there's no trail, and someone has encroached on it, and the county needs to basically tell them to take their enclosure down so the trail can go through. Volunteers could build it, and that's a really low-hanging fruit in order to connect this area up near Pleasant Valley Road with the Poplar Ford parks. So that's one that we've rated very highly. Then over at Eleanor Lawrence Park, we see a real potential in getting a connection between Eleanor Lawrence Park and the Cub Run Stream Valley Trail system. Right now, they don't connect. You have to go on roads, and that is something that could be done relatively easily. Let's move on. Are there any questions in the Centerville area?
I have the same question, which is how much of these are hiking trails, mountain bike trails, or bicycling trails? Over.
Well, it's kind of the same answer. I mean, I kind of envision these as starting out as simple trails, perhaps built with volunteers. I mean, some of it, like bridges and things, you need to have, you need to have those engineered. But I kind of envision starting off simple and cheap, and then working your way up as the trails get more and more popular. That way, you build your user base and you build your support for the funding of the trails. So anyway, I hope you will look at some of these more details. You can use the likes index to find each of these given in more detail. And you can call me up. I mean, I'm happy to talk this stuff if you're interested. Karen and I love to go out and explore all these areas and envision what could be. Let's move on to the northern half of the West County Trail. Talking about this area in here, kind of Oakton, Fairfax, Vienna, that area. And there are some relatively simple things we can do to improve the route of the West County Trail. Up here at 69, we need a crosswalk at Lawyers Road. You can cross without a crosswalk. It'd be better if you had one, or some sort of a safe crossing. Here at 38, there's a small section along there where you need a sidewalk. It's about 4 houses. Right now, you can hike it on the public land, but you're kind of scrambling over uncut grass. Over in here, there's a way to cut a long road section and put it in the woods, but you would need one homeowner right away. Down here at 80 is one of my favorite ones that would get rid of about 3,000 feet along a busy road. It's at the Inova Fairfax Hospital. Their open space that is under easement for not, staying natural, but there's no public access. And if we could get public access there, that would be the ideal route to the West County Trail, and it's something that the county should prioritize. Let's go. A couple other items in this same area is on the Cross County Trail. This one, number 87, is near Miller Heights Road, where the Cross County Trail goes on a road for about a quarter mile. And if we got right of way at a homeowner property, we could get it off the road. So those are opportunities. I know right of way is one of the hardest things to get, but the county should be looking at these to improve the Cross County Trail. Number 34, by the way, is kind of being taken care of by Fairfax City, because that is what they call the Snyder Trail, and they're building that. They're using their I-66 concessionaire money, and that will put the longest road section of the Cross County Trail, which is 3 miles along Germantown Road and Blake Lane, through the Acting Stream Valley, and that's going to be really a wonderful thing. Bob and the Fairfax City people are actually going out on a hike of some of these trails, and that this is just a really exciting thing for the Cross County Trail. Any more questions about trails in this area?
So that what you just last mentioned, is that actually going to move the Cross County Trail off Blake Lane and onto the this new trail that's being built? What is it? The Snyder Trail?
Yeah. It's called the Snyder Trail, and you can actually see this part over here, which is the part along I-66, and they're actually building. As you drive across there, you can watch it. Well, hopefully, if you're a passenger anyway, you can watch this thing take shape. It will be even the part along I-66. We've worked with VDOT really, really closely on this to try to get it as far from the cars as we can. But yes, that will be part of it. And they're even putting a special crosswalk just for the trail across 123 when it gets down to the Moose Lodge down there. That's where it goes in, and it will pretty much eliminate that London Road section. Back when we did the cross county hikes in 1999, we hiked this route with the help of the then mayor of Fairfax, and we always envisioned it as the ideal route. And now it's nice to see it actually coming to take place. Any more questions about this area? Okay, we'll move on. We're going to talk about how the Potomac Heritage Trail gets through Mclean. Is details. As many of you know, the big gap is we have a trail from Great Falls Park, the upper left of this map, all the way up into Loudoun County for 14 miles, and that is natural surface trail. We actually help maintain some of that. And then there's a gap here at Georgetown Pike between Tolston and Bellevue Road. There is an easement along the They do a school frontage at Georgetown Pike, and there are trails that go through small neighborhood parks, and they follow this green route. And we think this is a really nice route for the Potomac Heritage Trail. Currently, the trail plan has it going either along the river, this way, or along Georgetown Pike. And we feel that both of those routes are completely impractical. The river route has so many private properties, you need like 12 easements to get across all the different ones. And if anyone was not willing, the whole effort would be in vain. Georgetown Pike is almost as bad because the right of way is pretty narrow there and you need a lot of right of way, and it's a long way. But if you go this way, the trails already exist. In fact, we have a video of a friend of mine jogging all the way from here at Scotts Run Nature Preserve, along the Sound Wall, through Timberley Park, around this little road, through the Bullneck Run Stream Valley system, and then along Old Dominion. And that is actually a really nice trail because there's a big separation from the trail and the road. And then through the school park, through Greenway Heights Park, and all the way up to Kimberwick Road. And we envision that as not only, the most practical route for the Potomac Heritage Trail, it already exists. And now the parks there are like postage stamp parks. There aren't really trails there on the trail plan, but we envision this as a really good route and kind of the only route really for the Potomac Heritage Trail through Mclean. So yeah, we would like this to be put on the trail plan. I have a little bit more, just like I did in the old Colchester area, I have a photos album of this route. This is a little bit more detailed. Again, we're going to show a picture from each of the places along the trail. All right, we're going to start at the American Legion. And as most of you know, between the American Legion Bridge and Roosevelt Island is a 10-mile stretch, a very rugged trail that volunteers maintain from the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club. This is a typical segment here on the upper right. Then at one, there is a very nice little trail along the strip of woods between the Beltway and Live Oak Drive. And we have been working very closely with VDOT on this in the I-495 next to preserve as much of this as we can. And we think we can preserve most of this. They are going to be putting a sound wall up, and we are going to try to work with their designers to preserve this trail because we really like it as a route to the Potomac Heritage Trail. It's better than walking along Live Oak Drive. Even though there isn't much traffic, it's still nice to be in the woods. Then you get to the swim club and you cross the street here and you go into Scotts Run Nature Preserve. I'm sure you've all been there. That's one of the really nicest gems on the Potomac Heritage Trail. Then continuing, we then get to the intersection of Georgetown Pike and the Beltway. And there's a wonderful little trail that goes from Scotts Run up to Helga Place, where you can cross Georgetown Pike. And as part of the I-495 Next project, they are going to actually put in a crosswalk here, and a trail here, and of course, a trail along the Sound Wall, what I've numbered as number 5, which is a really going to be nice section. This is what it looks like now. It's sort of, sometimes I call it the Potomac Heritage Half Scenic Trail because it's a wall on one side and it's really nice woods on the other. And that's what this section 5 would look like. It'll actually go under Old Dominion Drive and then get to this little postage stamp park called Timberley Park. It's a public park and they have trails in it. And, it's an ideal place for the Potomac Heritage Trail. It gets you off the Beltway and into the woods. Then we reach number 7. And at that point, we, occasionally we have to go on the road, but it's not a bad road. It's called Old Stable Road and Foxhound Road, and there's a sidewalk. So you just follow the sidewalk a while. And then you get to what we think is a real gem. It's number 8 on the map, and it's called Old Falls Road. And it is a road, but it feels more like a trail. And there's hardly any traffic. There's only about 6 houses there. And it makes a really nice route for the Potomac Heritage Trail, scenic and safe. Yeah. At the cul-de-sac, there's a trail. There's a Fairfax County Park Authority asphalt trail that goes down to Old Dominion. It also goes over here to Spring Hill Rec Center, which is where you can park. I mean, people ask us, well, where are you going to park? You're going to really park beside all these houses? Well, I mean, the obvious answer is that Spring Hill Rec Center is where, long distance hikers would be able to hike. So this is pretty nice. Then we get to Old Dominion Drive. And number 10, which is the sidewalk along Old Dominion Drive. Well, first of all, you go past a little shopping center at Spring Hill Road, and it's really nice. If you're on a long hike, you have a place to get something to eat and something to drink and use the bathroom. And then you're off on this sidewalk here, which is in the, it has a buffer between you and the road, and that's kind of what you want. Then you get up to number 11, and you're at what they call the Old Dominion School Site Park, which is a nice little park, and there's a trail in there. And then you're on the sidewalk for a short distance on Kimberley Road. It's not a very high traffic road. There's a little place where there's no sidewalk, but there is a wide VDOT right of way along there. And then you get finally to Bellevue Road. And number 14 is where the easement is at the Madeira School. And it's actually well off the road. You see this white fence as you go down Georgetown Pike. The easement is actually on the opposite side of the fence. So you have a good separation along this trail easement. This is a project we put a lot of effort into. There's an effort to make this happen. So that kind of shows you how we envision the Potomac Heritage Trail through Mclean. Are there any questions about this route? Okay, let me go back to my main brief. Next suggestion we have is on the Poet Stream Valley. This is, of course, as I'm sure you all know, one of the highest priorities of the Fairfax County Park Authority. And they have been over the years building segments of this ADA style trail from the Burke VRE station, which is off the map to the left. And the latest one is this dark blue one, which I'm labeled A, and it reaches Hillside Road. So the trail will come and end up at Hillside Road, and that's almost finished. You can actually hike that now. They're putting the finishing touches on it. Now the next one they're going to do, eventually they're going to go all the way down to the Fairfax County Parkway and connect with the Cross County Trail, which is really good. The next one they're going to skip a section though. They're going to skip this section in light blue, which we labeled B, and because there is a sidewalk that goes there, and then they're going to continue on down to Hidden Pond Park, and that'll be the next one they'll be building over the next couple of years. So our recommendation here, there are very good natural surface trails that are in this oval area. And so our recommendation to the Park Service is that they, instead of building the trail here and then here, that they go to the end, because there is no way to get under the parkway and up to here. And your best bang for the buck would be to have your next section, this one at the parkway, because then you'd be able to go up the Cross County Trail from Regional Park, go under there, take these natural surface trails, which are really good, to Hidden Pond, and then you're on your way all the way up to Burke VRE. And that's what we would recommend on that. We also recommend that you, and this is, I've seen this on the map as a future trail, that you go ahead and build this section parallel to Hillside Road, just to keep the whole thing in the stream valley and keep it a world-class scenic experience. So that, we have a lot of other recommendations. That's kind of concludes our main ones. And we would love to give you more detail on these. And again, you can look at the number in the oval and go over to the Active Fairfax site and find more details about any one of these on these maps. But I think that's the gist of it. And yes, we'd love to organize a hike to go look at some of these. And we'd be, glad to work with you guys to set up a date for that. The final slides in the briefing are just a summary of all the ovals, all the references to the Active Fairfax site that we mentioned. These are the light blues are the ones, the Potomac Heritage Trail in Mount Vernon. Dark blues are Mount Vernon or Drainsville, Potomac Heritage. Occoquan Trail, West County Trail in green, Bull Run Slowly Loop in yellow green, and Poe Extreme Valley in orange, and Cross County in yellow. Yeah, so for instance, if you wanted to find the our idea on, say, this one here, how do you get Reston to Crabtree? That's number 69. So you go to the website and you look up trail number 69. There it is. That's one that goes under 95. So that concludes our presentation. I'd be glad to answer any more questions you might have. I have one more thing that might be of interest to you. It actually concerns the American Legion Bridge and the I-495 Next project. It's actually in Maryland, but it has an impact on Virginians. What's happening is that you're in Mclean and you want to cross the Legion Bridge on the new trail and you want to get to the C&O and you want to go up to Billy Goat Trail, say, or Great Falls Visitor Center. Well, you can't. What they're making you do is coming along the Beltway, crossing the bridge. Then what you have to do to get on the C&O Canal is go all the way down MacArthur Boulevard and then come all the way back. That's 2 miles out of the way. And why are they doing that? It's because the National Park Service said, no, we don't want a direct connection here because that might increase traffic on the C&O, and we don't want that because that might bust our maintenance budget. So they're really not, we've had this problem in a lot of national parks. We're making progress on all kinds of fronts, but on national parks, we've had a kind of a brick wall. And they, I think in some ways the Marylanders can access the C&O from a whole bunch of places, but Virginians are only going to have this spot. So this is going to affect us more than Maryland. And I think it's something we should take an interest in. There is a comment period that ends on November 15th, and people can send the comments, and we're recommending that people ask for a direct connection without the detour. I can send you the link if you're interested.
Can everyone hear me? This is Karen Jones.
Go ahead, Karen.
Going back to what Bill was just saying, it's interesting. You can give comment, but they don't give you very good options that you're supposed to comment on, because the good option to go directly from where the trail is going to be along the American Legion Bridge over into Maryland to get directly to the C&O Canal, they don't have that on there as an option. The Park Service refused to have them put that on any kind of a document or a map as an option. So I just thought that was a very salient point that should be made.
Yeah, this is Jim Klein. I just want to thank Bill and Karen for those great maps and your tremendous amount of effort you do and regarding to trails. And I'm really struck by two things. One is the sort of loop around Fairfax, which would be a great thing to make these connections. And then the second thing I was struck by are almost commonly among all the smaller loops was the need for a bridge here or a crosswalk there. And so some of these are just connections, and it seems that as part of the Active Fairfax, these key points where you have to invest in a bridge or a better crossing really need to tie into this to this network that you're showing, but also the Capitol Trail network. So if you overlaid the Capitol Trail network on the network map you're showing there, you might have a tremendous system of trails for both bikes and walking. I really appreciate the point of view. So thank you.
Yeah, I think we're so close. I mean, I think of how much had to be done to make the cross-county trail happen when that was first made a priority. And frankly, the West County Sully Loop and Bull Run Loop are closer than that. I mean, if we put the equal amount of effort, those trails could be completed and running in, an equivalent amount of time, so some relative few number of years. These things are so close.
Can you send the link that you offered to send?
For the American Legion Bridge, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, I will send that to the committee. There's a link, and you have to do it quickly though, because the comment ends on November 15th. I'll send that tonight. We're working with the Capitol Trails Coalition that has, done so much good work on I-66 and I-495 next, and the Capitol Trails Network. They will be pushing this really hard. It's an important thing. Incidentally, the National Park Service has also done something on the Virginia side. This is the Legion Bridge here, and the Potomac Heritage Trail goes down the parkland along the river to Roosevelt Island. But the National Park Service has refused to allow a connection from the new trail along the bridge down to the river. They claim that, they only have bikes on the trail because the trail is only open to hiking, but that closes it to hikers. And so if you're a hiker and you want to, you're on this trail along the river and you want to go over to the C&O, you have to go all the way down. You have to go under the bridge up to Live Oak Drive, along Live Oak Drive, all the way back to where that crosses the road, which is about a mile away from the river. Then you have to come all the way back down here, and then you get to the C&O Canal. And if you want to go to Great Falls Park, here's your, you have to come. It's crazy. You have to come all the way up here, go under there, go over to here, go back here, then go over to there, and then go back to here, and then you're on your way to Great Falls. So you're going like 5 miles out of the way, when if they do it right, you should be able to just go here, here. So, and it's all due to the National Park Service's crazy idea that trails are bad, and that it's just we're working on it. But I mean, we should be alert that this is a problem. They don't want to use their lands. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but you would think that a Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail being on national parkland is a fit made in heaven. But they clearly are not there yet. Thank God for Fairfax County Park Authority that has a better idea.
I have a
So
couple
this is,
questions.
oh,
Beth from Park Authority. There's two questions, and I was hoping, provide some insight in terms of all the trails that you propose, and you speak of a volunteer trail maintenance effort.
Yeah.
What sort of maintenance effort would all of those trails require from a volunteer standpoint? I know Eddie Rodriguez is on the call, and we've spoken to him a lot about the maintenance for bike trails that Moore does, and they have a very strong volunteer efforts. And I guess what would all these trail proposals require in terms of volunteer maintenance?
Bill, would you like me to take that?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Bill referred to the evolution of trails, and I want to address that, but I'm going to incorporate a couple of other things. So number one, Bill, Karen, and I see this in the same vein, which is we're trying to satisfy community needs, and they're more evident today than they ever have been, partly because of the pandemic. But then we also realize that trails start out maybe as deer paths, maybe as social trails. And what we try to do is try to get them recognized as trails or prototype trails. And that's where your question really comes in, Beth, is if it's a deer path or a social trail, it could be up and down a fall line. It could be totally unsustainable. And then once we get recognition, that's when we can incorporate what we do best, which is build community in support of, and this is the way I like to say it, sustainable, natural surface, multi-use public trails. And those are very specific because the very first one is sustainability, is we have to eliminate those fall line trails that yield erosion and sedimentation and getting into our water supply and things like that. So we see the first hurdle is once we recognize, then we can address maintenance issues. And I know we're here talking about building trails, but really we need to talk about maintenance before we ever build. So I'm so glad that you asked that question. And then after you get them recognized, then you kind of look at them as to, is it a popular hiking trail, multi-use trail, the youth, what can you create a user community to support? And then this is an area where we do try to celebrate. We're not offended if a trail becomes a transportation corridor, because that just proves to us that we have built the trail in the right place, that somebody can get to where they want to go, that they can use it to go to work, to doctor's office, to the grocery store, where to school, whatever they want to do, because we built the trail in the right place. And then if we want to really evolve this, we look at the model for Bentonville, where they have a spine of a paved trail and they have offshoots with all types of features and options and just anything the public would want, they can find along that path, and they can connect city to city, community to community, and they unite their people. So anyway, I know that was a little bit winded, but I was trying to get those key words in there, which is sustainable, natural surface, multi-use, public trails.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that we have to add, and for consideration with some of the goals and objectives that are being set, is equity. And so one of the core goals is for all ages and abilities. And while that may have not been the policy of the past, it's certainly where it's going. And some of the proposals don't meet those policies and goals. And so, rock scrambles, fair weather crossings, while, they were an old way to get a crossing across, it doesn't meet all ages and abilities. And we have to find a way to deal with that as we create new trails.
I am so glad to hear that. That is something that is close to our hearts, because I mean, you probably already know we have a s'mores program, but we also know that we're weak in that s'mores is not inclusive enough. So we partner with other nonprofit organizations who are better at attracting and serving underserved communities, communities of color. You know, it's a great partnership to be able to say, we want you to have a NICA event here. We want to be able to provide something that's entry level, so you can decide if you want to do this the rest of your life or not. Because, you know, hiking starts with a good experience out in the woods. And then the rest of your life, it's like, oh, I remember that. I want to do that again. Or I want to, in my case, I want to take my grandkids on that. So thank you for considering that.
Yeah, I think there's a matter of, you know, cost consideration. I mean, some of these trails get you so many miles for relatively little expenditure, and they do serve a huge community. I mean, if you've ever been out, I mean, anyone who's been out on a Fairfax County Park knows that it serves an extremely diverse community, and it's you know, all of these trails are representative of the entire economic spectrum.
I think one of the things Beth was talking about, although equity is an issue, I think is access for handicapped and access for all ages are some older folks that are not going to be moving over a fair weather crossing stepstones very well, and I guess younger children, right? Is that what you meant, Beth? I mean, what does all ages and abilities mean?
You're correct. Like I said, when we have to cross streams or go down steep slopes, we really need to take a look at whether it's a cheap option or if it's where we can do that option. It's not that it's a cost thing. It's a what we're responsible to adhere to in terms of policies like One Fairfax, ADA, all of those things. Like I said, I think putting a trail in, and it can be a balance. It's just we have to make sure we take a close look at what is proposed because we do have those responsibilities to meet those policies and requirements. We are getting a lot of feedback from people who cannot walk across a fair weather crossing, who need to who wheel across, and also at older ages where they don't feel safe or uncomfortable crossing. To streams now are at a higher water level, and this fair weather crossing is an underwater crossing from now, you know, until you can't get across anymore unless you're willing to wade through water. And I think those while they're the most expensive things to build, there's things that we just can't do just cheaply anymore based on some of the policies that we have to adhere to.
Hey, this is Sean Newman with Fab. The other part of that, I think, is some of the natural surface trails are not as ADA compliant or accessible to all ages and abilities either. Not that we shouldn't have them, but just that for some of these major trails that are intended to be, you know, long, county-wide, accessible trails, natural surface doesn't always work for those. And I think that people, whether it's, you know, somebody in a wheelchair or, you know, a little kid riding, or even sometimes, you know, more and more people are getting, you know, larger, heavier e-bikes that are, you know, cargo bikes. People can't lift those. Like if there's not a way to wheel it through, they're not getting through. If there's a tree down, they may not be able to get through. So there's definitely some other considerations that need to be incorporated into some of this planning.
Sean, thank you for mentioning that. This is Ernest. I hope I'm not out of line by commenting. I want to recognize and celebrate that my team at Patapsco Valley State Park in Maryland had their first adaptive mountain bike event with adaptive mountain bikes that are touring the country, just to demonstrate to veterans and to people with disabilities that they can mountain bike as well on three-wheel bikes. So that was one of the efforts that, we researched trails in our area. And one of the trails that was under consideration was Laurel Hill, because we think that that would fit the requirements. But as we continue to use the vision that Beth is talking about, and I'm not saying dumb down all the trails, we do need to have diversity. But as we continue to look to the future and do events like that and build trails like that, then I think we'll get there with diversity and equity.
Yeah, this is Jim Klein again. Just to add on to what Ernest is saying there is that, any sort of trail experience, especially at an introductory level or users that aren't as facile as others, is that you can start with sort of a public investment in some of the core areas, shorter trails, well-designed, suitable for all ages and abilities. And then those trails begin to branch out or loop out further away. So you could take a 1 or 2 hour day hike or walk, or anybody could do. And then as you get further away, the public investment may get less, but the volunteer may get more. So you can have a Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail that goes from basically the upper watershed of the Potomac River all the way down to the Tidewater. And within that have lots of opportunities for every person, every type of trail, every type of user. And I don't think we want to shortchange anybody in all of that. So I think it's a mistake to kind of prioritize or think about this as one user type or another user type. I think you have to think of them all. So I just wanted to kind of amplify what Ernie was saying there.
So we've been staring at this disconnect with the Fairfax County, with the Chesapeake Sienna Canal towpath and the Park Service's resistance to this. I just want to hazard the simple truism that you're probably not going to get anywhere talking to state authorities if the intransigent part is a federal authority. So the place to apply the pressure, I would argue, is through the congressional delegations. In particular, the disadvantaged people, as Bill clearly pointed out, are Virginians, most of Fairfax County, so that the congressional delegation who might address this would be those from Virginia. Just so happens that our cross-county trail is named for him, but that's silly me. I mean I think that would be.
You're absolutely right, and we have been updating the local congressman, and I think you're right that the state and local people have much less effect. However, the main reason I wanted to bring this up to your attention was that they do pay attention to comments, and if we get a lot of people comment on this, that will raise some attention to this issue.
So this website that you would have us comment on, though, is the Maryland's website. Is that correct?
That's the website that, yes, that is a Maryland website. I can also send you the VDOT website with comments on the I-495 next, which you should look at because there's a lot of really good stuff at the Potomac Heritage Trail on that. And you can comment to them too. VDOT and MDOT cooperate very closely on this. As a matter of fact, MDOT is building the section of the widened beltway in Virginia north of the GW Parkway. But they
right, and it's their investment that's you know, if this is done the way this is, this becomes essentially a dead end trail. You know, I mean, people are going to look at what happens when I get across the bridge. Well, then, if this is what happens when I get across the bridge, there's a lot of other places for me to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the sooner the earlier in the process we can change this change, the better.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't give up if we haven't gotten any change by the 15th of November. I mean, this is a question of putting a ramp or a stairway down there, and that could be added later.
And we're in a complete agreement on that, and just know that we do not give up. We're pretty tenacious. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I'm calling Governor Hogan and the Transportation Secretary in Maryland. We've already had a meeting with the Assistant Secretary of Transportation in Maryland, but that was on the another crazy thing they're doing where they're not putting a pedestrian way to get across the 301 bridge, the one that's down that links King George County with Charles County.
No, what's the name of it?
The Nice Bridge.
The Nice Bridge.
Yeah, the replacement for the Nice Bridge.
And David Brickley, who used to be actually a delegate, and he was also the head of DCR, was with Bill at the meeting that he attended with the Assistant Secretary of Transportation. And he had a very good idea that what could happen is you leave the current bridge up and you use that as a trail crossing, and then you build the other bridge. But they balked at that because, Bill, can you explain why they said they didn't want to do it to everyone?
Money, basically. They opened the bridge to bicycles, but they had a whole process. And they, frankly, they didn't get that much support from the local supervisors. I think in the more recent elections, they've had more trail favorable supervisors, but it sounds like they're pretty far along the road of building it with open to bikes. But if you've ever been on that bridge, it's a very steep, they have a big rise in the middle for ocean ships. And so if you're riding a bike, you're going to be panting and you're going to be breathing in exhaust, and it's not going to be a good experience. So there's no separation between the bikes and the cars, and there's no facilities for pedestrians. We think it's a huge missed opportunity.
So David's idea was to leave the bridge and use it as a pedestrian crossing. And why they didn't want to do that was because they found out that it would cost, how much was it, Bill's? Maintenance was
Maintenance is $1 million a year, but they're spending $17 million to tear the thing down. So, you know, just use that 17 million to maintain the bridge for the next 17 years. And by that point, you'll have so many people wanting to use it that you'll have a real user base. I mean, that's the way you get things done.
But we haven't given up on that idea.
Yeah.
We're pursuing that also.
You know, it's terrible precedent to put a bridge across the Potomac and not put a trail. I mean, fortunately, in our neck of the woods, we are putting trails at the Legion Bridge and the Wilson Bridge and, you know, all the other bridges. But that was an opportunity missed.
And as far as the American Legion Bridge, they should try to do what they did at the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, where they kind of made it like a destination. Because when you go across that trail and then you wind down to get down to National Harbor, it's landscaped. It's got a very good lookout point, you know, where you can look over the river and everything. They need to make it into a wow thing that people will want to come see. And if they're smart, they'll see it that way. And we are going to try to point these things out to them.
Yeah. I mean, just from an economic point of view, I mentioned that the Northern Virginia Regional Commission is putting out an economic analysis of trails. I mean, this could be a huge economic impact. People coming, you know, back and forth across the river. That just doesn't happen now with bikes, but it could happen with this if it's done right. And not doing it will, you know, be a negative impact on the economy, as well as all the recreational and health stuff.
We do want to thank everyone for your time and attention to this. And, you know, we're available anytime anyone wants to go out on a hike or wants to see something, or Beth, you know, you could bring your dog. You can go out on a trail walk. Just get a hold of us.
She can hear you. Please don't make that offer. She'll be making me go out there during the winter time.
Oh, we definitely want to do it.
Okay. So it is 8:28, so we're approaching our public comment period. Probably might as well start it now. But I would like to get a staff report in here, so let's see if we can move through that expeditiously. We'll take the public comments, I guess, in the order that we identify them. First one, and I missed the name, was from Prince William County Trails Alliance. Is that right?
Yes, I'm Charlie Grimes with the Greater Prince William Trails Coalition. And we are a group that got organized last year. It's sort of the southern version of the Capitol Trails Coalition. And we deal with Manassas Park, Prince William County. Because the county is currently doing a new comprehensive plan for the next 20 years, the opportunity is ripe for us to plan a comprehensive trails network. So we're busy planning a comprehensive trails network and proposing a couple of 100 miles of additional trails to be added to our mobility chapter. Prince William is a road building county. We've never been much for trails. Our goal is to change that so that we become more focused on our equity, connectivity, safe routes to schools, as well as recreational trails. Our opportunity is ripe, and so we have an ambitious aspirational trails map. I've put it in the chat so that you can follow the link to it. The county will be producing its own version, which will have fewer trails than what we recommend. And we'll be going through a public involvement process for the next several months to encourage the county to be more ambitious and to build that network of trails that will allow us to provide an alternative for short car trips in particular. We know that about 40%, maybe 50% of our car trips in the county are actually 3 miles or less. We know e-bikes are coming. We know that development and activity centers could give us walkable, livable workplace communities. And we know that we need to do something to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And if we don't reduce vehicle miles traveled by single occupancy vehicles, we're not going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we think the potential for us to become a different style of county in the next decade is rich. And we are particularly interested in connecting up to Fairfax County trails with a set of bridges over the Occoquan and Bull Run so that we can share each other's trails network and offer our people an opportunity to get back and forth without getting in a car. So that's why I wanted to visit with you tonight. Appreciate the chance to listen to what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, yeah, this is Jim Klein again. Charlie, thanks for your map and link and everything. And I know I'm a Mount Vernon district rep, and I know the connection to the trails that Bill and Karen were showing along the Occoquan and all the way up would be a great link at the village of Occoquan and maybe sometime over Route 1, but be happy to connect with you and try to support those connections if at all possible. It's a Jim
It's a
Clock.
long game. We know, for example, the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority is going to find that there's a two-track bottleneck at the Occoquan River, and they're going to need to expand the current railroad bridge at the Occoquan River. Those are the sort of opportunities we're looking forward to in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Great. Look forward to it.
Hey, this is Sean from Fab again. Have you guys had any luck with pushing Prince William to connect to the I-66 trail?
We blew it when we did our transportation chapter in 2008. We had no line on the map to parallel I-66. So at this stage, we got no money from the Express Mobility Partners, and we're looking at a trails connection across Bull Run at I-66, but it would go along Balls Ford Road and through Manassas National Battlefield Park. It would not be a trail exactly parallel to I-66.
So I will say one thing, and Charlie, you can chime in behind me too. Bill and I were very successful in saving a trail that goes, it's on the Prince William side along Bull Run, and it connects Mayhew Park. You go under I-66 and you end up on Manassas National Battlefield property. Susan Shaw and the team, at first they were going to riprap over an existing trail that had been there since before I-66 was even there. But we managed to have a meeting with all players at the table, and we were able to save it. So now there is a connection from Prince William County, Mayhew, which goes up to the Splashdown Water Park, and you go under 66. The trail is already in. It's not open yet because they're waiting for the lanes to be done above it so that they can safely open it. But one thing though is it's an equestrian hiking trail, mainly because the National Park Service at the battlefield does not allow bikes on their trails. And when you go under the highway, you end up on their property. There's a short section of trail that you go on, and then you end up at the end of what's called Vander Road, and that's a blacktop road. If we could just get that one little section, that would be a really big connection there for, say, someone on a bike. But as of right now, there is a way for an equestrian and a hiker to get over. And once you get to the battlefield, you know, that leaves it all the way, you can go all the way across the battlefield to Poplar Ford. That's why Poplar Ford was so important to us for having a crossing.
Okay, so next name on the list is Ernie.
I apologize. I made all my comments during his presentation. So I just appreciate the invitation and, you know, the ability to participate in this. And I wholeheartedly support, you know, cross-pollination of groups like this and, you know, getting our interests together so that we can together meet community needs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Sheila.
Thank you. I just, to follow up on my statement last month, I'm working now with Beth Ionetta with the FCPA, and we're just trying to identify some of the CCT deed easements, and I'll loop back around with folks on that. But generally my recommendation or request was just to make sure that there was the inclusion of environmental concerns with the evaluation of some of the proposed trails in the active Fairfax. And I know I've had some conversations with John Burke with the IMA program, and he's looped in with the tree commission. And so he definitely was indicating, their input on, that focus as well. So anyway, just appreciate Karen and Bill, all of your work, and Ernie as well. And then just one final comment, Ernie's comment about the very first step is to recognize the trails. And I think it's just kind of a chicken and egg thing with the social trails that exist in Parkland right now. And I know it is, again, a cost issue for maintenance, but it's the fact that they do exist, and when maintenance needs to be done, I guess a clearer process for that to happen, so that then other trails aren't developed that are environmentally not good ones, that it would keep everybody on at least the existing trail. So I don't know where the park authority is on the whole topic of social trails, but that's something that exists as an issue. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Sheila. Let's see if we can get that staff report in. I missed that. So David, are you prepared to present the staff report?
Yeah. Nicole was not able to join, unfortunately, but I do have updates from her about Active Fairfax. So nothing super major, she said, but for part one, three different points. Point one, regarding the vision goals and objectives for active transportation. So the Board Transportation Committee reviewed the final draft on September 28th, and it went to the full board yesterday. I'm not actually certain offhand what they did. I assume they would have voted to approve, but I can look into that. For the Safe Streets for All program recommendation. So the program launched late last month, and so we had the first public meeting on November 8th. I think I sent a note out late last week about that. And the second one is on November 18th. That'll be at 6:30. It'll be like a WebEx thing as well. So it's like we're also trying to do some small group meetings with opportunity neighborhood residents as well. There's some stakeholder meetings for November coming up, and then the goal is to take it to the BTC for review in January 22nd, and then a board action later in the spring. And then for the third point, funding for phase 2 of Active Fairfax was approved back in October on the 5th. That's the Active Fairfax.
Remind us, David, are you familiar with what phase 2 was?
So I think phase 2 is more, I'm not super familiar, but like phase 1 is sort of what we're at, sort of the visioning goals and broad strokes sort of look, and then phase 2 is supposed to get more specific and actually start working on creation of the actual sort of comprehensive plan that's going to come out of it.
Okay, so it's an authorization to begin creating the actual plan, right?
Yeah, that's sort of the goal. Obviously, we didn't have the funding until last month, but now that that's secured, we're able to. Obviously, we haven't begun phase 2 yet, but that's sort of like the next step.
Hey, Dave, I know you don't know, but could you send along? There was talk about revising the scope of phase 2. They needed to go back and do some more work. So if you could request that they share that soon, that'd be great. because I think they needed to make some changes to the scope of phase 2 based on some of the work they did in phase 1.
Send along just what the decision is, or like what the final scope.
What the rescoping is, so we can know what that is. It's a revised scope. I think they were working on.
Sure. I'll ask her to send that out.
David, I have a question. We just heard a wonderful presentation showing all of these proposed trails with the like numbers. Will those then be rolled into the existing bicycle and trail map in phase 2?
So, yeah, I mean, the goal of that website was to get feedback, I mean, with the likes of where, you know, we're missing connections that maybe we didn't know about, or ones that we, you know, did know about, and sort of the popularity just online. And that was an effort to inform like the future decisions on actually making like a future comprehensive plan. And then once something is in a comprehensive plan document, it becomes a lot easier to get funding for it down the line. Or if you miss out on getting it in the document, then it can be harder to get funding, as we heard from Prince William. So yeah, that's the goal. And you know, nothing that's on that list is set in stone, of course. But there will be plenty of future opportunities for public feedback as we're getting into like the specifics of what's going to go into the comprehensive plan or the active Fairfax plan. You know, once it's complete, and you know, the idea is to include to try to include not just like, you know, lines on maps, but you know, what types of trails, what types of connections, those sorts of things as well. Are these going to be, you know, on street bike lanes, or are these going to be shared use paths, or are these going to all sorts of things? So
good. That's the process, as I understand it. That's the next step then. So
yeah.
And a second question, at the Board of Supervisors meeting a while back, they suggested they need about $100 million worth of funding for some active transportation facilities and improvements. What's the next step on that, as far as you know?
Not certain. Which meeting are you referring to? Was this?
Well, there was a joint board matter where $100 million was, okay, I guess, proposed, or kind of a notional type of thing, and priorities were due back to the Board of Supervisors, I guess, by December sometime.
Right. So yes, now I recall. I think that was either September, October when that was approved. We are working on putting together district by district, I believe, lists of potential projects for them. So offhand how the money is supposed to be. Sorry.
Okay. And if I'm wearing a different hat, I guess, our local community is interested about a trail and sidewalk along Prosperity Avenue. And we're going to be proposing something, I guess, through our local supervisors. So is that the proper timing, I guess?
Yeah, I think that aligns well. You know, $100 million sounds like a lot, but it's kind of not all that much, as it turns out. And I think a lot of the goals for that money is specific safety improvement projects, but that doesn't preclude, you know, a new trail, of course. And I think that's something that should definitely be, if it's not already on the Active Fairfax Suggestions website, that should definitely be on there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to go directly to your district supervisors. You know, if you have specific specific projects in mind like that, I think now would definitely be a good time. I'm sure once you send it to them, they'll just send it to Lauren and Nicole and me.
So Howard, let me ask you this question. Is it on the, is the prosperity the sidewalk on the trails in on the website, Active Fairfax website?
Yes, and the 2014 map, it was. Both of them is, and you've got a blinker put in it at the cross county trail. But that's going to be a act of getting people to bus stops, or types of things, benefits.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see the need for that one. Anybody have any more questions of staff?
Yeah, this is Jim Klein. On that funding goal of the 100 million, my understanding is it's tied back into the original board matter in January that we wrote the letter for Route 1, but county-wide. So I think if you think about it like this, is that I can't remember when, but maybe Chris once mentioned a couple 100,000 for an intersection with the ADA ramps and all that. And if you start dividing a couple 100,000 per intersection into the 100 million, you can see it's not going to go far. So I would hope that this money goes towards more systematic kind of safety improvements, like crosswalks on all four corners of every arterial road with a light. You know, I mean, that's my understanding, is that's really where the money ought to be going. And I hope that it would be used in that way. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is sort of the focus of what FCDOT is putting together for the district supervisors is sort of safety improvements is sort of like our top goal.
Okay, let me be sure that that I've got everybody who was waiting to be heard got heard. Is anybody out there who hasn't spoken and out there waiting to be heard? So I want to be sure I collected everybody. Okay, sounds good. Is there anything from our, I assume you're done. I'm sorry. Is that correct, David?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so there are unresolved issues. Let's see. The list is Route 1 pedestrian safety, Route 1 Embark BRT, liaison with Transportation Advisory Committee, trail projects update, several trail projects updates, and then future presentations. Does anybody feel any of those in the 10 minutes we have left wants to open the floor on any one of those topics? We do it that way.
This is Jim Klein again. I just wanted to follow up on a meeting that I missed, but it's a trail was discussed on the Cinderbed Road, and I know there's been a lot of concern on environmental groups' part about some of the route through, I guess it's Amberley Homeowners Association property, and I wonder. I think I understood maybe some very rough notes that Beth had shared with me was that there was going to be a letter from this committee in support of the trail. Did that ever happen, or is there any follow-up that ever occurred?
No, I don't think we agreed to do, no, it was a September meeting, I think.
Well, there was,
They did
but this was in July. The meeting was in July that I missed. But I just wondered if there, so there was no letter.
You weren't there.
Yeah, you answered. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you.
No, Ken wasn't there either.
Oh, he wasn't there either. All right.
Hey, Bob, what's up?
Bob chaired the meeting. I believe we needed to get more information to figure out and understand the issue a little better, and I don't think we've gotten that detail yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Bob. In September, which I didn't attend, there was a group of citizens from that area that were going to address those environmental issues, but they were covered in fairly good detail by Chris at the July meeting. The county is well aware of them. They were looking at alternate routes, as I understand it, possibly through easements, through HOA property or something, but that's sort of where I thought it was standing, but I don't think at any point were we prepared to support it, because I don't know if we had all the information at that time and still don't have all the information. So maybe something we could look at next month, just to give, Chris or someone could give us an update on that.
I would appreciate that if we could add that to next month's agenda. That'd be great.
All right, we'll
So
put
an
Cinder
update on
Bed
this-
Road on there.
Status of Cinder Bed Road, right? Yes, we had an extended presentation, but there were essentially no questions after the presentation.
I believe there's a lot of material to digest, and it's taken me about 3 months to digest it. This Supervisor Stork is asking me about it, and this is why I'm kind of following up on it. And I know they asked for a categorical exclusion from environmental data, and Beth gave me some information on what the Park Authority contributed for their little piece of it. But I would need to get some more information from FCDOT, or sometimes VDOT does the categorical exclusions. So I just was trying to look for facts about what those environmental issues were and how they've been addressed. Or not.
It was my impression is that there are probably two sides to this issue.
Yes.
And I am a little concerned that we may be listening to one side and not hearing from the people who might want a trail.
Exactly.
So,
and I guess the facts about the environmental issues would be pretty critical here.
Yeah, yes, this is, we've been here before.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the same page.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else about the list that I just mentioned?
Yeah, I'm just, Ken, this is Bob. I'm just going to ask David if he is going to be able to perhaps line up Deputy County Executive Flynn for December, if her schedule fits, because it's been several months since we talked to her, and she might have some updates on some of the transportation initiatives, coming out of the Elkhorn Lusk board matter and just other things that she talked to us about before. So do you have a status on that, or is that something you could initiate?
Yeah, I can initiate that. Don't have a guess as to whether or not she'll be available, but I will inquire, and that'll be December 8th. Is that right?
Yes. Well, let's put it this way. We would love to hear from her either whenever she's available, December or January.
Right. Yeah, of course.
January would be a year since I think she talked to us in January this year. So so that would be, it might be nice in January too.
Sure. Okay. I'll make a note about just coordinating for hopefully one of the next two, preferably next month.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Since we're talking about maybe future presentations, bicycle parking is a subject that is going to be coming up within the county soon. There's district task forces, district listening groups and town hall meetings that the zoning department is having now, where they're attempting to right size the parking lots at shopping centers and other buildings, but no place are bicycle parking facilities being discussed. So I would propose that maybe at a future meeting, if we could get a presentation maybe from the Department of Transportation on when bicycle parking is appropriate at bus stops or on county lands, or if there's any county policy on how much bike parking is needed. And maybe Rachel Flynn would have some insight or high-level guidance to that, if she could maybe include that in her presentation, might be helpful too. Bicycle parking is the general topic.
Sure. Were you saying those were Department of Planning and Zoning, or the Planning and Development? I don't know what they're called. I think they changed the name. You're saying that those were their meetings or SCDOT meetings?
They were planning, zoning and planning meetings,
Okay.
but they did not include bicycle parking, only vehicle parking.
Yeah, right now, every time you build a building, build a business and that type of thing, you have to have enough parking or open a business. But there's no stipulation that you have to have any bicycle parking.
And
Just
they
to
are
clarify, it's a joint effort by Land Development Services and Department of Planning and Development is their new name. But it's about the parking rates, vehicle off-street parking rates within Fairfax County. So shopping centers, schools, the whole kind of gamut, and getting feedback on that.
And SCDOT does have, or we do have guidelines. I guess they're not requirements necessarily for bicycle parking at different sorts of developments. And I can share those with the group if that would be helpful.
Well, those were 3 or 4 years ago, those were put out, but they're not requirements in the zoning ordinances. And the progressive counties in Washington and Oregon and California and other places have it in their ordinances, specific bike parking requirements. So that new buildings, provide facilities that are needed for the public, so.
So, it sounds like if I want anybody to talk about anything else, I have to fish for it, and I'm not going to do that. So, I think we've reached the clock chime at 9 o'clock. I suspect a motion to adjourn is in order.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
And it is 9 p.m. We'll see everybody next month. Enjoy Turkey Day and happy Veterans Day to all of my fellow veterans.